what's going on, kid? I was in my workshop working on something. Okay, so... Well, here it is. This is the data cube you told me that you couldn't unlock. Here's the data that was on it. Yeah, you got the tape to work. Fantastic. Let's watch.
Team of insanos can beat you! Two can play that game, you talentless derivative! Via the power of my robotic grabby things! Ha! Your robotic grabby things are out of date! Behold the robotic grabby thing! Mark II! You see?
So apparently Mike Sano came from a universe called the Insanoverse. Insanoverse. Interesting concept. Yeah. And the weapon he used, well, didn't you say you're going to lock on what it was? Yeah, he was using a Dalek energy weapon. That's pretty much all I was able to get off it. Yeah, Dalek energy weapon. So, the problem is that if he makes it to my universe, he can destroy the holographic light beam and kill my hologram, so we have to get back there now. Well then, get the ship ready to hop. I'll grab my stuff. Yeah, I'll get the station gear to go. Hello and welcome to the Literary Lair. I'm Michael, and today we're going to review the fourth Red Dwarf book, Last Human. Now, I call it the fourth book because it came out after backwards, but I liked it more, so we're going to look at it first. So, something exciting's happened for Red Dwarf. It came back for its 10th series, and it's not airing in America yet. Listen, we're sorry for Red Dwarf USA. Please let us watch it. Well, after that excuse of fanboying, let's get to the book. Now, Last Human is a direct sequel to Better Than Life and completely contradicts anything that happens in Backwards. Now, that's probably because of the Doug Naylor Rob Grant split up, and they had to make 2 more books. But I like to assume it happened like this. I'm gonna not borrow as much content from the television series, and I'm gonna get rid of Kaczynski because the fans of the show hated her anyway. Oh yeah, well I'm gonna keep her and use most of the plots in the show because I'm Doug Naylor and I wrote most of that stuff. Sorry about that. I got emotionally invested in it. Of course, it probably went more like, "Hey Doug, we're under contract for 2 more books. Why don't we split them?" Okay. Ah, well. Like always, let's start out looking at the cover. This one's actually pretty cool. It has a surface of skulls with a shadow of Lifter looming over it. There's something in Lifter's hand, but with all my might, I cannot make it out. Also to note, one of the skulls is wearing sunglasses. Not very sure what that means. Last Human by Doug Naylor. Anyway, Last Human starts out with Lifter waking up on a transport ship going toward the Gelf colony of Siberia. Wait a second. Siberia. Like where they used to send people... Oh, history lesson. Red Dwarf history lesson. That doesn't happen very often. A place where everyone has to live out their worst fears. Lifter has apparently committed a terrible crime, but he doesn't remember it. Meanwhile, Starbug is traveling into the Omni Zone to get back to the regular universe and the backwards universe from the last book. If you want to know more about that, read the last book. Watch my last review or read Better Than Life, because I can't explain it because it's Red Dwarf. Red Dwarf is like magic. You can't explain it. So, Lifter wakes up out of deep sleep, like in Sirens, with no memory whatsoever. Kaczynski is so excited to see him that she immediately has sex with the amnesiac Lifter. And let's take solace in the fact that he would probably do that to her. Rimmer, however, has gotten a solid grand body, pretty much like the hard light one he got in Legion. Now, since they don't say if he changed from the JMC, official uniform, I don't know exactly if he's wearing the hard light one from Legion, or if he's still wearing the beige tie, that. I want to assume he's wearing the blue hard light one just to make sense of it. The cat doesn't have memory either, but he gets it back when Lifter does. Kaczynski, who I assume is Chloe Annette, but I'm not sure, is now the highest ranking officer on the ship, which is an annoyance to Rimmer. So they start heading back to their universe when they run into a derelict version of Starbug. They investigate and find all their bodies gruesomely murdered, all except for Kaczynski and Lifter. They find Kaczynski in the deep sleep booth, slowly dying of her injuries. When they revive her, they find that she wants Lifter to find her Lifter. And not knowing why he needs to be found, the boys and girl from the dwarf head out to find Lifter 2. I'm calling him Lifter 2. I could call him the evil Lifter, I can call him anything, he's Lifter 2. They find themselves in the Gelf colony now, and they need to trade with the natives. It turns out that these particular Gelfs are sterile, and sperm is a hot commodity. Lifter and the cat just happen to have a secret store, so they use it to trade with the Gelfs for needed supplies. They want to find out what happened to Lifter 2, so they send Crichton to the magistrate, since he is nice to mechanoids. Crichton finds out that in the future, Lifter 2 would have killed the magistrate and several others. Happy to find out that Lifter 2 didn't commit the crime, Lifter plans to break him out of prison. The crew head to another Gelf tribe, the Kintawawi, to get equipment they need in order to break Lifter 2 out of Siberian prison. But the Kintawawi are offended when Lifter and Cat offer their sperm as payment, because they're not sterile. Eventually they make a deal where they will give them a bunch of second-hand droids and a virus that destroys electricity in return for Lifter marrying the chief's daughter. The chief played by Anthony Ainsley. The guy from Can't Cook, Won't Cook. That's his name, right? Sorry for Red Dwarf USA! Unfortunately, the bride want to consummate their marriage immediately, and they quickly initiate Red Dwarf Plan Alpha. Run like hell. While the Gelf promise remains. On Siberia, they attempt to break Lifter 2 out. Although it is mostly successful, the virus causes the person's artificial gravity to fail. Lister is caught by the floating lake water and drowns, only to be saved by his duplicate self. The two begin their escape from the prison's forces. However, something doesn't sit right with Lister. Lister, too, after retrieving his belongings, enjoys the fight to a scary degree. And when they two make their escape, Lister, too, wants to turn around to keep killing them. Making Lister realize that Chitansky, too, wanted him to stop Lister, too, not save him. Later, as the two Listers sit around the campfire, Lister, too, pulls out the hand of Crichton, too, holding a piece of paper from his belongings. Lister realizes that with horror that Lister, too, was the one who killed Starbug 2's crew, so he knocks him out and ties him up. However, when our Starbug arrives, Lister, too, throws himself into the fire to escape his bonds and attacks Lister. Soon, Starbug is left with the wrong Lister, while the other is left buried in the planet, and hijinks ensue. Now, I'm going to explain Lister 2's character. They do it in the book, but I want you to know this now, since he just escaped. Okay, our Lister, at least in the book continuity, had a choice between his poor parents and the wealthy Thorntons. Our Lister chose the poor kind one, while Lister 2 chose the wealthy and manic depressive Thorntons. As a result, Lister 2 grew into a sociopath, willing to kill or maim anything to meet his goals. Therefore, while our Lister is a nice, morally sound man, Lister 2 is a complete nutjob with no concept of love. And that twist, finding that out, is why I like this better than backwards, because it shows that a Lister we'd never seen before. Well, except for Sebastian Doyle, but he was a character in a hallucination. The next part starts out with a monologue, so I'll read it for you. In Earth, long ago, in a universe far away, the Earth World President, John Milhouse Nixon, has learned that thermonuclear tests conducted too close to the surface of the Sun have fatally weakened the star's structure, thus causing an eventual decay that will see the entire solar system die in 400,000 years, which would be very bad for the economy and Nixon's re-election prospects. The only hope now is to move the human race to another world, another galaxy, and to that end a genome has been created that will rewrite DNA and thus turn an inhospitable, barren world into a world where the human race can live. Hold on a second. Really? Is that possible? Oh, what do you know it is? A mission has been organized by Dr. Michael Longman and his clones, Dr. Longman and Dr. Longman, including numerous Gelfs, to assist on the process, and Michael Magruder, a heroic Star Soldier who has accepted this mission in the hope that he may be able to find and contact his father, the long-lost hero of an ill-fated mining ship. Oh, come on, you guys all know where this is going. Revived to be that ship's hologram, Arnold J. Rimmer. Yeah, Rimmer. A heroic hero. Wait, what? No, I had to have read that wrong. No, it says Rimmer. Well, he is my favorite character, so this will be fun. And also, Arnold Rimmer. The Rimmer that in the beginning of this book admitted to being an abject coward. Well, that can't be true. But I guess it might be. And Magruder, like Yvonne Magruder, takes a bit of explaining now. In the words of Linkara, time for backstory. In Red Dwarf Series 1 and 2, Rimmer tells of his only sexual conquest, Yvonne Magruder, who was concussed during the relations. In the book continuity, they went on a date and had relations, and then Rimmer left her in her room, and she fell in the shower, and thought that the entire date was a dream. So what she did was she decided that if Rimmer called her again, that it wasn't a dream, and it happened. And Rimmer, at the same time, decides that he's going to let her make the next move in the relationship. And then she transferred off the ship, had Rimmer's kid, and told him stories that Rimmer was an amazing man, a man among men. Pretty much she told Michael that Rimmer was the amazing man that in reality probably would have been Ace Rimmer. Oh, but he's not in this book. He's in this one, though. We'll get to that next time, I hope. The real Lister, now in prison, charged with orchestrating the breakout, and this means that the guards know that he is, in fact, the Lister that we know and love, is now trapped in a soul-destroying hell of his own creation, where the places and people remind him of only the worst places in his life, but of everything he's lost. Stolen by Lister 2. His friends, his ship, his life. For 5 months he's trapped in there, looking at everything he hates. So they offer him something. A get-out-of-jail-free card if he goes to a planet to terraform it. They only use nice people, because if they used bad people, then it would cause like some sort of demon thing, probably called the Rage. So, the crew of Starbug have found a piece of paper that in the duplicate Crichton's hand that leads to the Mayflower, the ship where Michael Longman, the Gelfs, and Michael Magruder were on. Crichton awaits early to prepare the crew like he usually does, noticing several disconcerting anomalies in Lister's medical records. They've got the wrong Lister. And to make matters worse, in the checking of the alternate Starbug's files, a cursory examination that leads to Crichton to find out that following a traumatic and abusive childhood at the hands of the manic depressive foster mother, who had developed him into a ruthless sociopathic criminal, and hijinks ensue. Just kidding. Lister 2 wakes up early as well and plans to destroy Crichton before he could warn the rest of the crew. But just in the nick of time, Lister's in-laws show up. You know, the Kintawawi from before. Yeah. They show up again and they're not happy. They want Lister, and Crichton's happy to give them the Lister they have on board. So, then, after Lister 2 is taken away, they find out that Starbug is on fire, and they crash through the lava on the planet where the Mayflower is, and they land in an ocean. Wait a second. They fly through land in an ocean beneath the flame. Wait. Beneath the seas, beside the flame, off the coast where the lost beast came. Oh no! The Mayflower's carrying missing note! Oh, wait a second, the ship was beneath the sea and under the flame. Well, just Cthulhu. So where were we? Right, so they board the ship, find a bunch of positive virus, like luck and sexual magnetism. Oh, and Crichton finds the DNA machine and turns himself into a human like he did in the episode DNA. For Crichton, it goes pretty much the same. He's confused about his body and why his nipples don't say Chaz FM anymore, and shows his Polaroid of his penis to Kachansky. Which, admittedly, while I still got a chuckle out of me, it was funnier with Lister. I ended up reading it in the Scouser accent anyway. As part of volunteering for it, Lister gets to use a symbimorph named Rektrebin to fulfill his desires with her shape-shifting and telepathic abilities. She's defective, however, and intends to save herself for her boyfriend. But Lister doesn't want to use her for sex. He wants to use her to get information out of Crichton, to find out what's wrong. And we find out that Lister always has the information inside of him, but he needs Crichton to validate it, so he knows he's right. Which is really cool, because this is why another reason I like it better, because we're seeing actual character development from Lister. We don't see any of that in this book. Whatever. So he then makes her turn into him so she could feel the pain that he feels, and she agrees to help him out. He gets on the ship and goes and lands on the planet, which just happens to be the same planet where Michael Magruder landed. And so Michael Magruder, who knows that Lister was on Red Dwarf with his father, tells him that his father's a hero. Lister laughs, but since he doesn't think he'll ever see Rimmer again, lets Michael Magruder live in the little fantasy where Rimmer's a hero. So he then learns of the powerful force known as the Rage, created by feelings of fear from the wrongly convicted inmates they had used to terraform the planet before. To prevent it from killing everyone, they form a circle, and the Rage goes around, picks one person, and kills them. Lister begs it to kill him, but it chooses somebody else. Crichton decides to change back, but Michael Longman has taken the mechanoid DNA sample out of the machine. Since he used it so many times, he was barely human. They defeat him and Crichton returns to normal. Then they use the luck virus to find out where Lister is. Reaching the planet, Lister is reunited with the rest of the crew, and Magruder finally meets his father, but is devastated when he is told he is hardly here, but a maintenance technician. Starbug loses power once it lands, and the planet will soon be passing through the Omni Zone into another universe where it can thrive. Rimmer walks through the cave where he finds Michael Longman being attacked by Lister 2. His confusion at how Lister 2 made it there is put on hold when the radiation gun Lister 2 was holding drops close to him. However, he can't pluck up the courage to grab it, and Lister 2 imprisons him in the hold above Starbug with Crichton. Rimmer's a pussy. Who found the dead bodies of the in-laws who boarded earlier. Well, that's going to make Christmas very awkward. Lister 2 emerges from the ship and locates the rest of the crew, demanding the solar-powered escape pod that allowed him to leave the planet. As well as this, he shoots Lister in the genitals with the radiation gun, meaning Lister is sterile now. And the Rage is approaching. Isn't this just the best day ever for them? So it's nearly upon everyone. There's no time left to infect it with the virus. Everyone forms the circle required to prevent it from killing everyone, but Lister warns that one of them will still die. Lister 2 doesn't want it to be him, so he takes the luck virus, but it turns out that he's the lucky one. And he gets killed by the Rage. So the Rage is passed. It still has to be destroyed before the planet goes through the Omni Zone. Suddenly, Rimmer's light bee, hovering using the last of its power, it had been destroyed by a combination of, you know, Rimmer being a coward and him getting pushed around and beaten until the light beam was broken. He hovers using the last of its power, uses Morse code to communicate, and he gives a final farewell to his son, who now knows that Rimmer might not be a hero, but he's still someone to look up to, and flies into the Rage, destroying it. But wait, Rimmer dies? I don't like this book anymore. But wait, Rimmer dies in this one. Why do they always kill Rimmer? So the Rage is gone, and they try to find Rimmer's light bee to give him a proper funeral. Hopefully like the one in Stoke Me a Clipper. And Lister says that, wow, this would have been a great place to raise a family. Well, you still can if you're very lucky. And the book ends with Lister and Kuczynski going into the grass to attempt to have a child. That was a sad ending. Rimmer's dead. They're trapped. That's not Red Dwarf. What happened to Holly? Why didn't he come and save them? Well, whatever. That was Last Human. Was it good? Hell yes. Was it better than I had hoped and expected it to be? Hell yes. This book is fantastic. Go out and read it. Okay. Backwards, we'll get to you next week. Shit, you all back up. Well, I think I'm gonna go out and enjoy myself for once. Been stuck in here ever since he activated me. Well, I could leave. Wait a second. Hello, Mike Sano. Yes, it is I, Dr. Mike Sano. Oh, and, this is a bit awkward. I have to shoot you now. Oh, no, you don't. Oh, yes, I do. be matched.
Certainly, sir.